and welcome to our Park Life Sport Cheltenham Festival special. I'm Bruna Rees.
And I'm Daniel Khan.
And here are your latest headlines ahead of the full-day event.
We caught up with Fergal O'Brien ahead of his first potential win at this year's event.
We investigate the financial impact in the betting industry.
And Racing Post journalist James Stephens shares his tips ahead of the festival.
Local horse trainer Fergal O'Brien has been preparing his yard for this year's Cheltenham Festival. The Irishman is hopeful for his first festival winner. Caitlin Bennett has more.
Fergal O'Brien has been on a steady upward curve in the run-up to this year's Cheltenham Festival. A recent move to the gallops just outside Cheltenham at Ravenswell Farm welcomed the yard's most successful season with 86 wins so far. Despite no spectators being able to attend the races, it's business as usual for O'Brien and his team in the hopes that they can strike gold at the festival.
It's not a pressure, it's just something you want to do, you know. I always say pressure's for tyres. But, you know, we've had a great season and people say, oh, it doesn't matter whether you have a Cheltenham winner or not. But, you know, we're not defined by Cheltenham, but it would be a great season, you know, if we had a Cheltenham winner. Yeah, that would cap it off, really, so it'd be great.
With the Cheltenham Festival just a few days away, it's been great to visit Fergal O'Brien's yard. It's very busy, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes in the hopes that they'll claim their first festival winner. Imperial
Alcazar so it was a standout for us, really, so fingers crossed. He's in great form, so wish Cheltenham was tomorrow, so not much more we can do now. Done all his work, done all his schooling, so what it'll be will be.
Fergal makes the short trip to Prestbury Park to watch Imperial Alcazar in the Pertemps final on Thursday. And hopefully, when they return, this stable will be housing a winner. Caitlin Bennett, Park Life Sport.
We are now going live to the Cheltenham racecourse. Owen, it's looking a bit windy there, but the excitement is building, isn't it?
Well, it's that time of year again. The Cheltenham Festival is upon us and it's looking very different to last year. The Supreme Novice Hurdle gets us underway at 1:20, but there'll be no spectators due to coronavirus laws.
So Owen, who's the favourite for the first race tomorrow?
Well, Appreciated is the current favourite at the moment, but of course that's all subject to change. Metier and Ballyadam are also fancied by punters. It should be an exciting race to get us underway as the 4-day festival rolls around again.
Thank you, Owen. We are now joined by a racing expert, Tad Cheenery. Tad, thank you for joining me today. Can you run us through the rest of the races on the first day?
Yeah, as Owen said, it's going to be a really great, a competitive Supreme Novice Hurdle, which is the first race, of course. But that's followed by the Arkle, and many people's banker of the week, Shishkin, is running that. So if he doesn't win, I'm sure many people will be out of pocket. That's quickly followed by the Champion Hurdle with Honeysuckle, Epperton, and Goshen all running that. So another great race.
And which race should people be looking out for?
I think the Mares Hurdle's another competitive race. We see Concertista and Roxana going head to head, but if you want my tip for the week, it's Black Tears, which also runs in the Mares Hurdle. That's 12 to 1 at the moment. But if you look for that sort of price in the morning, I'm sure you're not going to get it. So my advice would be get on now.
So we've just heard your tip there, but any outside bets ahead of tomorrow?
Yeah, I think if we look to the Ultima, it's a really competitive handicap with 16 declared for the race. So anything around, I think I Right is the current second favourite. It's trained by Harriet Graham, who's a small trainer based up in Scotland. So if that could win, that'd be brilliant for such a small stable.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Tad.
That's okay.
The racing expertise doesn't stop there. We also heard from Racing Post journalist James Stephens. He shared his tips for each day of the festival.
Day one, there's a horse running in the Arkle called Shishkin, trained by a guy called Nicky Henderson, who's had a very, very good top 2 mile chaser called Sprinter Sacra, and then Altior. And the feeling is that Shishkin could be the next big superstar of horse racing. On Wednesday, one of the Irish sort of bankers of the week, Chacon Poursoiren's in the champion chase. He's sort of an unknown quantity because every time he's run, he's looked fantastic. So how good he is, we find out. Envoy LN is one of the biggest talking horses in racing, probably the most popular horse at the moment. He's unbeaten. He runs on Thursday. That'll be really exciting to see. And then the Gold Cup is always just a completely and utterly fantastic race. I mean, you've got so many different stories. You've got Album Photo going for a 3rd Gold Cup win, which would be an extraordinary achievement. Champ, named after Ray P. McCoy. You know, it's sort of written in the stars. And then you've got Frodon and Native River, the old horses, the old favourites. I mean, those are the sort of horses that people love this game, and they love horse racing because of these horses that come out year after year. And my God, if one of those wins it would be extraordinary. So there's all sorts of different news angles.
The League Against Cruel Sports are always very vocal around the major horse racing events due to controversial treatment of the horses. It's not uncommon for a horse to be put down at a racing festival if they sustain an injury. Here are the thoughts of the Cheltenham public on this topic ahead of the first day of racing.
I'm strongly against that. I love animals in general, so I think it's just not ethical. It's not right how they treat horses with dysfunctions and they can't race.
I don't give it a lot of thought. Maybe I should give it more, but to me, I wouldn't say there was a huge number. There's just occasionally, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see it,
Yeah, I don't like watching the racing when you see them really being whipped towards the end.
And I think the one that really springs to mind is not the Cheltenham one, but the Grand National.
I'm not a big fan of horse racing. From what I've heard, there's quite a few cruel practices in the sport, so I can't really support it in general.
I think it's horrible. Some people might say, oh, it's just a sport, they're just animals, but they're still a living creature. They've, as much a right to life as we do. And I think people forget that, and it's just cruel for the sake of cruelty, I think.
And finally, with the festival fast approaching, fans will be watching from afar, and as a result, the betting world has had to adapt accordingly. Part Life Sport reporter Jack Goodrich tells us more.
This is the scene up and down the country, with high street bookmakers closed. With Cheltenham Festival less than 24 hours away, these shops would normally be full of punters. Last March, thousands of fans streamed into Cheltenham from around the world and placed bets and bookmakers in cold hard cash. However, this year fans have a big decision to make: to bet online or not at all.
Well, I don't really know. Normally, if I was to do it, I'd go along to the betting shop. Do it in person and write my thing out. It's all part of the thing, isn't it, of the races in Cheltenham? And that would be it. So I don't know how I do it this week. I've never done it online in my life. It doesn't feel right to me. So.
Probably will affect him a fair bit, to be fair, because a lot of people, older people, not so great with technology, so they go in there and put a bet on instead of doing it online.
Why is it you always go online?
Easier, it's quicker. Literally, yeah, that's the only reason.
I know everyone comes from Ireland especially to go to the bookies. It's just mad to have a races and no bookies. I don't get it.
Could COVID spell the end for the high street bookmaker? Recent figures don't make for good reading. William Hill's profit was down 91% at £9.1 million. Paddy Power claim that the pandemic is costing them £9 million a month. Meanwhile, the bookmaking giant Ladbroke and Coral estimate losses of £50 million per month due to a combination of high street closure and the cancellation of sporting events. In an attempt to recoup some of those losses, the online bookmakers have some great sign-up offers for new customers. So, if you're new to horse racing, it's a great opportunity to get a free bet. But remember, when the fun stops, stop, and always bet responsibly.
And that is all we have time for now. Be sure to keep up to date with our social media channels at parklife_sport for the latest sports updates.
Goodbye.